I often get asked this question in voicemails and emails, in the comments of people. Maybe it's people who are aspiring to do what I do, who want to get into this game, YouTube punditry. I got corrected the other day. I said pundit a bunch of times, which is my force of habit. I know that's not how to pronounce the word, but it's pundit. And people ask me, how did you get started on YouTube? Even the other day, Garrison Hayes was in town and we met briefly, and he asked the same question. It's like, what'd you do before this? Like, what led you to this? And I was in sales, corporate sales, years and years ago in another life. And I actually reflected on this when I was going through my YouTube algorithm or the stats and looking at my videos, and I looked at the first things I ever uploaded. And these two videos reminded, like, holy shit. In 2007, 2008, 2007, MySpace, if you remember, MySpace had a competition. They had the MySpace State of the Union, My State of the Union, where you had to submit a 60-second video talking about what the State of the Union was. And then they had like Bill Frist was a senator from Tennessee, and other conservative and liberal judges. And then MySpace voted. And anyway, I won that. This was way before YouTube was barely a thing. It was barely going on when this took place. And so I certainly wasn't doing that. I had my little sales job. So anyway, this was my submission. This was the winning submission. You'll have to forgive the video quality and the audio quality. I knew nothing less than I even know now, and that's not even a lot now. But it's grainy. It wasn't with an actual camera. It was just like a picture taken digital camera that happened to do video. It's terrible quality. But this is it. This is the winning entry that really foretold what would become of my life 17 years later. Watch this.
The state of our union is unequivocally both good and bad. It depends where you reside on the political spectrum, though. If you're on either of the extremes, it's horrible. To you, we're either denying immigrants an environment to work and live unmolested by the government, or our porous borders are allowing millions of illegals to live here unmonitored. We are either living in a nation that is singularly proliferating the end of the planet through a blatant disrespect of the environment, or we're acting with no regard for the well-being and livelihood of humans by allowing radically militant environmental groups to unduly influence policy through terror and the misuse of our judicial system. If, however, you fall somewhere in the middle, like me, the State of the Union is very strong. We just experienced yet another orderly election where power was relinquished by one political party and handed peacefully over to the other. We must work together within the confines of our flawed, yet very workable political system to create that more perfect union that our founding fathers worked for so diligently.
What strikes me most about this is the fact that 17 years ago, I was focused on, I found importance in the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 17 years removed, and it is the fundamental, most important thing that we should be thinking about and talking about because of the real threat of the end of democracy in America. No one could have foreseen, readily anyway, the arrival of Donald Trump on the scene. A lot of people say he's a symptom. He's not the cause. I quibble with that, but, it's where we are. We are absolutely under threat, and I don't know if it was just a lucky situation, but when I wrote that little 1-minute script, that was the thing that I drilled down on. That you've got all of this going on, a lot of, by the way, the same things that I'm talking about the fervor over immigration. It's the same culture war nonsense they're still talking about. They've just amped it up to the next white supremacy level because it's no longer dog whistles with the Republican Party. But that really strikes me that was the thing that I was focused on. And here I am 17 years later now doing this for a living, not in some little MySpace MyState of the Union contest. So it's a big deal to me. And I think it should be a big deal to you because if you live in this country and you value equal protection under the law, you value the rule of law, you value the Constitution, you value the continuation of democracy, it is something we all need to fight for. The other thing, when I say that I'm a former Republican, even then I wasn't a Republican. I'm talking about how if you're somewhere in the middle, like me, that's where I was. And the middle in 2007 was a far different middle than exists now. That back then, I mean, my family thought I was a liberal then. They really think I'm a liberal now. But it should tell you, one, how far the Overton window has shifted to the right. That was then, and consider myself middle. Anyway, so I won. There's another video I want to show you. My win was featured on The Situation Room with CNN's Wolf Blitzer and Jackie Schechner. I did an interview with her. And this was the segment that CNN ran on it. I don't know why it took me so long from this thing to what I'm doing now to figure out, maybe I could do that. Anyway, watch this from The Situation Room. Brief little bit.
So what do former Republican Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist and America's top liberal blogger actually have in common? They're both judges, get this, in a My State of the Union, a contest being held on MySpace.com in anticipation of tonight's address. Here with the winner and details of why this popular website is going political are Jackie Schechner. Jackie?
Well, this is the winner. His name is Jesse Dollemore. He's 32 years old, a salesman in Boise, Idaho, and he says the State of the Union is strong for moderates like him. Take a quick listen.
Strong. We just experienced yet another orderly election where power was relinquished by one political party and handed peacefully over to the other.
Well, he does move if you watch the video online. But MySpace invited people to do short videos to give their view of the State of the Union. They had 4 judges for this. They had former Majority Leader Bill Frist and Jonah Goldberg, who is a editor for the National Review Online, a conservative website. They also, on the left, had John Podesta, President Clinton's former chief of staff, and Marcos Malitsis, who runs the top liberal blog dailycoast.com. Now, these 4 judges whittled down thousands of videos to their 4 finalists, and then the MySpace user community picked Jesse as their winner. He gets a 3-day trip to Washington, D.C., $500 cash. MySpace says they are happy that the political dialogue is happening online on their site. Well,
thank you for that. We'll be watching a little bit more of that.
I didn't take the money or the trip because obviously I'd already lived and worked in Washington, D.C. at that time and didn't feel like heading back. So they just cut me a check for what the trip would be worth. $2,600 or $3,000 or something. So thanks, MySpace. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you. So, look, I don't know what other questions there might be from the audience. You could certainly put them in the comments and we could talk about them there. I'm free with the information. I think a lot of people in this space think about this from a competition standpoint. They don't want new creators. They don't want new commentators, like there's not enough views or eyeballs to go around, and they want to keep it. I just have that feeling. No one's ever said that to me before, but I don't think like that. I think the more voices, the better. I think the more truth, the better. And I'm all about helping people get into this business, which didn't start with video, by the way. What actually immediately precipitated me doing this was my podcast. I started a podcast over 10 years ago. This past March was 10 years of doing I Doubt It podcast with Brittany Page. And then when Josh Feuerstein came along, I did a couple videos that were funny, making fun of him. And then when Tommy Lahren, the little alt-right Nazi Barbie, came along, I really thought that things needed to be said. So I started doing more regular videos attached to the things that went viral, the hateful shit that she would say. And that's kind of what started. And then Donald Trump came on the scene, and that certainly needed to be addressed. And I started doing YouTube more full time. And it wasn't really until 2021 or so that I started doing regularly multiple videos per day. But it took a long time. I mean, I started doing scripted videos when I started doing like daily or almost daily. I would sit down and write a script, 1,400 words, record it that night, and then post it the next day. And it wasn't for years and years because I'm so daft, I guess. It wasn't for years and years that I figured out I could sit down, record a whole bunch of videos at once, take out the memory card, come around, do the audio, do the video, and edit the videos. It took me a long time to figure things out. Never claimed to be super smart, everybody. Anyway, I do. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. You can comment below. We can mix it up there. And you can also call. Leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. That's another thing I do that is not super unique anymore, but when I first started doing it, it was unique. And that is leaving a space for you to comment and have a conversation. Dialogue, I believe, is a beautiful way to change hearts and minds, to get to the truth. And I hope that I embody that, despite the bombacity that I show, because it's who I am. Anyway, if you want to support this work, the continuation of this program from that until this, you can do so. You can click the join button below for $2 a month. You can help me make the videos I make on a daily basis. You can also go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Both those are great ways to help support this work, and I'd love to have you join those families. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore just about everywhere, and I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.